the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food, Henry's soul food. What we need, soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Armstrong. Sound like gladiators. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Alex, are you going to talk today?
Yeah, I'll talk today.
Are you pretty shy?
Yeah, I'm pretty shy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you're running for student body president at Howard.
Yeah, hopefully by working at it, by forcing myself to be more open, especially to public speaking, I'll become a better public speaker.
This environment should have helped facilitate that a little further along.
And it definitely has. I'm here on the radio talking to who knows how many people.
Yeah, and we didn't do our video blog today. We're going to get to that because you didn't remind me. Well,
we were busy.
We were talking about, man, when I see that situation, and I can't wait to get Richard Prince on the line, that situation in Kenya, I mean, it's just, last week it was the Navy Yard. This week is Kenya. Have you followed that story?
I haven't been updated on the Kenyan situation, but I heard
the hostage situation at the mall?
Holding hostage at the mall. It's
200 people. There's Richard Prince. He finally decided to join his brother. Now, Richard, you know, when you're live, everything starts on time.
How about that?
How about that?
Good to be back.
All right, Richard, this situation in Kenya, man, what's going on with these savages?
Well, I wouldn't call them savages.
You
but,
didn't. I did.
Right, but I think that's not a word I would use.
But they are savages. What else are they? To massacre and mow down people?
Well, people murder people in the United States. They murder them in Bosnia. They murder them all around the world. But the word savages, I think, is really pejorative, especially when applied to people in Africa.
I don't care where they are. They're savages. If you ask me, if in the United States we had a savage killing last week at the Navy Yard, that's what I call them. I'm sorry. I'm not even sorry. I mean, what else? I mean, you're just going to mow people down and kill them for no reason at all? Come on.
As I said, well, it's not no reason at all. I think that the stories are talking about how they view this as retaliation for what the Kenyans did in Somalia.
So you think they believe they're justified, is what you're saying?
Right.
But you don't agree with them.
I think that's something that happens all around the world. We have these situations in Bosnia, and we have it in the Middle East, and we had people mowing down other folks for no reason at all in the United States. And I don't think that makes people savages. It just makes them prey to the worst of human nature, and that is engaging in violence that's unnecessary.
Well, you're gonna get an interesting perspective when you receive my blog today.
I think I saw it.
And I'm sure you won't be using it, right?
Right. Well, no, not because of that reason, but I just think that I just attended a conference on media representations of Africa, in which the complaint was that that Africa is portrayed as one country, even though it's 54 countries, and the part that gets international attention is violence, poverty, disease, and when people go there, because of these media images, they think there are lions walking around.
You know what? I would
because of the misrepresentations of the real Africa in the worldwide media.
You know, I would be stunned if 50% of the people in the world knew that Kenya was in Africa. Seriously.
Really?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I would hope people are.
I think you give people too much credit. No, they're not as aware. Listen, many people in this country don't even know who their U.S. senators and members of Congress are.
That's true, but they do watch Tarzan movies and the rest of those things.
They probably think it's in Australia somewhere.
Well, I certainly hope they educate themselves.
And you can tell because when we have discussions on my syndicated show on Sirius, you can tell that some of them have no idea where Kenya or these other places are. They just don't know. Just like Egypt is in Africa. People don't know this.
Right.
They don't know. I learned this through experience. Don't give them too much credit. And
right,
God bless their soul.
Right.
They just don't know. They see it as just another place where killing is taking place for no reason at all.
Right. It's sad, but
it is sad. It is.
People make their own choices, don't they?
Yes. You know, I really read Prince journalism every day.
Oh,
I read it because let me tell you why I read it though.
All right.
I read it because to me, what you write, there's so to me, you through your barrel of ink really show the struggles of blacks in journalism and ownership in this country. It just saddens me. And every now and then when you write an uplifting story, I get so excited. I'm telling you, I don't think you realize how many issues that you present every day. Sadness of what really happens to people who've given their lives to journalism, given their lives to their employers, and all of a sudden, if there's a scratch that takes place, they're fired, left out in the dust for no reason at all, and sometimes to justify it, they're replaced by another African American so nobody can say anything.
Well, I try to write about not just African Americans, but Latinos and Asian Americans.
But their problems are all the same. They're all the same. It's a sad story. I'm just telling you.
Right.
To me, they're all minorities. It's just a sad. You really write about when people read you. I'm telling you, I don't know if it's a reality check. It's just the real world of journalism and media.
That's something. Well, thank you. It is a common struggle. You're right with all these groups. In fact, last week I had all these things came together with all these groups about the issue of how people look and how closely they conform to the European standard of beauty. When we had the first Indian American to be Miss America.
Oh my goodness! And I read about the ugly racism. It was unbelievable.
Right. And then we had Julie Chen talking about how she had to get plastic surgery for her eyes because they were too Asian. And then
I read that story, and I read about
Ann
Ann Curry getting the exclusive interview with the president of Iran.
That was a good thing. That was
it. And that's what, do I read you? Yeah,
I guess you do.
Yeah, because I was so happy to read the story about Ann Curry in Iran.
Right. Well, she really she spoke before the. I went to the Asian American Journalists Association conference, and she spoke there. And she was about to go to Syria then to do stories about the children who have become refugees. There are 1 million of them because of the fighting over there. And she said that it was so important to give faces and voices to people who are just, figures and statistics otherwise, and, to treat them the way you would treat them as if you were writing about or reporting about your own children. And that's what she tries to do. So she's been over there. She likes to go to other countries, and as you say, some people don't even know where Egypt is, to bring these stories home to Americans.
I just think there's just it seems to me though, this is the thing that I read when I read your journalism. It seems like they're all fighting for the same pot.
Well, that's a lot of that's true. That's true. They're fighting for the same pot, and they're also trying to expand the pot too. One of the things that they talked about at this conference I attended on African media is the need for people to establish their own media there, to have their own Al Jazeera, for example, to use social media to tell the story and get around the story that's told by the networks. So it's expanding the pie rather than just using the same tools that everyone else is.
I think what sort of is glaring for me.
Yes.
You have many of these people, because you talk about Byron Pitts a lot and his wife, but you have many of these people that work for the premier broadcast stations, networks, cable stations, newspapers in the world. They cover the racism, the bigotry, the fact that they don't meet quotas, that blacks are left out and minorities and Asians and Latinos are left out, and they report these stories, but in their own house, they are worst. What is wrong with this picture?
That's true.
Tell me what are we missing here?
That's true. Well, I think we're missing the ownership. That's, I think, what you're getting at.
It saddens me. I must tell you, it really saddens me. Because, it's not my story. I've never, it's just not my story. But I read that story, and you know what? You're saying it. But you would think that these people who write about everybody else would take a page from their own writings and their own reporting and do it themselves. And so they're no different than the people they report on.
Well, now in the case of Lynn Pitts, your listeners may not know, but Lynn Pitts is one of the behind-the-scenes people. She was a producer, and then she became a vice president of NBC News, and then she took a leave from the business to help her husband write his autobiography, which he did, which was a...
Hold that point. We're coming to a break. We're coming back to her. We'll be back. Richard Prince.
Yes.
Prince Journalism is our guest. Prince Editor. All you got to do is Google Prince Editor Richard Prince. And he's there. The Main Art Institute. Don't go away.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea, just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And Richard Prince, you were telling us a story about Lynn Pitts. Please
Yeah,
continue.
I was just mentioning Lynn Pitts, who was a producer and is married to Byron Pitts, who people may know from 60 Minutes and who's now on ABC News. She left, but she joined just what we're talking about, an African-owned worldwide network that's being started by this Nigerian. And she just left there, but she was the head of American operations. And I went to that site there. It's called Arise News.
Oh, you're talking about Arise
TV?
TV?
As well.
Arise TV?
Yeah, Arise TV.
Run, brother,
Arise TV.
run, run.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say to you, run.
They have a magazine as well. And on the cover of the magazine was this guy, an African guy, with a suitcase and in a graduation robes. And I said, well, how unusual this is, because that's not the way you see Africans usually. And it reminded me of a picture book about Africa that was edited by an African American who was at the Washington Post named Michael Lucille. And I said, well, what's different about this one? And he said, well, if you look at the people, you'll see they're smiling. He said, you don't see pictures of African people smiling in most photography taken by Westerners of Africa. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. Just like I wasn't used to seeing Africans in suits with graduation outfits on, I wasn't used to seeing them smiling either. And so these are all part of the images that I'm talking about that it's important to get for the people there to gain control of. And that's what they were talking about.
You know, for our audience, minority groups often must overcome a history of denial or misrepresentation, which frequently, though, involves addressing contentious historical and sometimes political factors contributing to group exclusion. And so public perceptions of minority groups are often negative. This is what our very distinguished guest, Richard Prince, is sharing with us now. Dignity and liberation may not easily be regained from an oppressed social position. And also, even if a minority group, and this is what I gather from reading Richard Prince, and I read him often, even if they achieve a stronger media presence or an improved public image, this does not necessarily translate to improve rights or living conditions. And that's not often connected. And also, many minority groups lack the financial or social resources to establish a media presence, Richard.
Right. That's true. But there are millionaires and there are wealthy people, everywhere. And, if they choose to get involved in this, they can, like Oprah Winfrey, they can make a difference.
They do make a difference. But how big, they do make a difference, but how big is that difference?
Well, let's take Oprah Winfrey, for example. She's trying to make a difference with her network owned, but she's also trying to make a difference on a personal level with that school for girls that she has founded in South Africa. And then the philanthropy she does. It's very selective, but she does it. And sometimes it's quiet and people don't know it exists. But, the people make choices. Some people choose to use their wealth to influence the media. Others don't. And so you have people saying, well, gee, we could really use some help with getting some positive images out here and educating people about what's really going on by owning broadcast outlets or newspapers or other media outlets. But they said, no, I'd rather spend my money and own a casino or something else.
Interesting. You said something about images, because to me, the singular but significant example in terms of teaching stereotypes, which has broad but very important, even ominous implications for more minority and other ethnic groups. I think whether intentionally or unintentionally, and you can address this, both the news and the entertainment media teach the public about minorities. other ethnic groups and societal groups. And so what happens is when you think about women, you think about gays, and you think about the elderly, most of their perceptions come from the media. And the mass media curriculum has a particular powerful educational impact, Richard, on people who have little or no direct contact with members of the groups being treated or reported on. Because oftentimes people forget, if you go to places like Montana, if you go to places like the Dakotas, you rarely see blacks. And so because you don't see them, they're not in your neighborhood, and you don't interact with many of them, the media is the sole provider of those images of who they are. And so this is why, in my opinion, that Asian Americans protested against, I think this guy, Michael Cimino's recent, that Chinatown bashing movie, Year of the Dragon. Why black actors have protested against the paucity and the lack of diversity of black film roles, because they try to cast them in the same roles. Hollywood does it, and yet Hollywood claimed to be their greatest allies.
Yes.
Help us understand this.
Hollywood, though, you're right. Well, I know that a lot of your listeners have seen the movie The Butler.
Oh.
And now it's being praised and everything, but all the major Hollywood studios turned down making that movie. And finally, they got some Sheila Johnson, who was the co-founder of BET, went around and raised the money necessary to make that. It was made outside of major Hollywood studios. Now people are praising it, but that kind of story has not been told, as have many other movies from the Civil Rights era not been told. We don't, it's not seen as something that the average person, moviegoer, will want to see. As it turned out, it's a big hit. But now, where are all the other ones? Where's the rest of our history?
But why is it a big hit? Help us understand that.
Well, it's a big hit because, for one thing, because Oprah Winfrey's in it. Number two, because it has an uplifting ending, and it got the right distribution, and it's a well-made movie. And so there was a good buzz about it, good word of mouth. PBS is now showing a 3-part series on the history of Latinos called Latino Americans. It comes on Tuesday nights, and that's another effort to sort of correct the impression that people have of Latinos in this country. A lot of people don't realize that Latinos were in the United States before there was a United States, and that I caught a little bit of the first episode in which they talked about how after the Depression, the administration was looking for a scapegoat, so they scapegoated the Mexican Americans and had them deported. I'd never heard about this, but they said this is all because Mexicans are taking Americans' jobs. Let's get rid of the Mexicans in the United States, and they deported them, even those who were born in this country. And I think if people understood, the multi-dimensions of these ethnic groups who are being demonized in other contexts, I think they would think of things differently. But you have to own, the means of the media in order to do that.
Well, I believe in broadcast ownership. I will tell you that. And, I've never worked for media companies. It's always been mine. But I think it's such a huge responsibility because you have the power and the resources to not only change but empower and force the other media to make those changes too. Because, listen, I find it stunning that much of the media, including Hollywood, have minorities across the board in their operation, but yet they still produce these films that are sometimes offensive and insensitive.
Right. By the way, I think Damon Wayans, I didn't see the Emmy Awards last night, but he tweeted that it looked like a tribute to whiteness.
Yeah, we know what that means, right?
Did you see those awards? I didn't see that.
No, you and I have the same problem. We can't stay up that late.
I know. But anyway, I guess I think your listeners probably are wise enough to understand that that there's more to the media than just what appears there, and that that they need to if they want to see better representations and get a truer picture of America and the world, they need to speak up as well and let people know.
How can people read more about you and your journalism?
Well, they can go to MIJE.org, which stands for Maynard Institute for Journalism Education, and they'll see Richard Prince's journalisms, or they can just go to one of the search engines and put in Richard Prince's journalisms, and get it that way.
Isn't it wonderful to love what you do and do what you love?
Yes, and more people should have that opportunity, I think.
Listen, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you. It's not enough time, but always so much respect for what you do. And how do they access journalism online?
Well, they can do it that way, or they can. They can. The best way to do it is to call up Richard Prince's Journalism in the search engine, and then at the bottom of this column it says how to subscribe there, and you just click that on, and then you can just get it right in your inbox, in your email box.
Well, thank you, man, because let me tell you something. You are the watchdog.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Armstrong.
Thank you so much for joining us, Richard.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. When we come back, Gary Bernard will be joining us. We have so much to talk to him about today with everything that's going on in the world. We want to talk about Kenya, just so many issues. This is the Armstrong Williams Show. You can always email us at info@rightsidewire.com. Our phone lines are open, 1-866-620-6620. We're still talking about the sad situation in Kenya, that hostage situation that continues to unfold, right? They have not brought any kind of closure to it, right, Alex?
No, it's they're still investigating it. They're still coming up with new details as the day goes on. One of the things I recently heard was that 3 of the shooters were American.
Yes, I heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're still looking into more detail. They're still looking into more details, but until then, that's the latest that we have.
They joined Al Qaeda, and this is supposedly a Western group.
Supposedly.
Amazing, just unbelievable to me. I'm telling you, you just killed those people for no reason at all. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
As long as I live. It was a moment that changed my life.
Mike Reagan here. The president has just delayed his Obamacare employee mandate for 1 year. But nothing has changed. The Congressional Budget Office still predicts 7 million Americans will lose their current insurance, and thousands of rules are being implemented today. Obamacare is over 20,000 pages, almost 3 times longer than the whole IRS tax code. Worse, the IRS is now in charge of enforcing the law. You need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the easy-to-read guide. It's called the Obamacare Survival Guide. Already a #1 New York Times bestseller, Newsmax calls it the best guide to the new law. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide today at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the show. Dr. Bernard, thank you for joining us.
Well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. How are you doing?
Just fine. Alex is joining us today.
Hey,
great.
Doctor.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Help us understand how these families at the Navy Yard, you look at the situation in Karuchi, in Kenya, how do people continue to deal and handle this grief?
Oh, you have to have tremendous resources internally to handle it and come out on the other end pretty well put together. This is an age-old story, handling grief. There's nothing new about it. And, people who've gone through years and years of war or civil war, another war, are constantly traumatized and dealing with loss and grief and death and the most horrific things. And it's just a terribly disruptive thing for humankind to have to deal with that. Recently, all the shootings, the Navy Yard here now in Kenya and Nairobi, our heart goes out to them. It's just going to take a whole lot of support, some time. But we have this ongoing situation of terror, and it's, isn't it interesting? This is just not state-sponsored or Al-Qaeda or Al-Shabaab or any of these little networks that are just political or religious. This is becoming such a rampant way of dealing with ambivalence, differences, varying discrepant belief systems. It's just, we see it in bullying, we see it in racial tension and hostilities, we see it in our families. The family is a form of government. It's probably the most simple and can be one of the most effective forms of government. But we see terroristic threats and behaviors happening all the time in families. And so psychologically, this is not new. It's just that we're seeing it in so many different places at such a frequent level now that we have social media and media systems that are just putting it out there visually, print media in every way. And so it's just a heavy demand on our emotional system, everything that we are as human beings, to constantly be bombarded with these things. But it's certainly not new psychologically. It's, think of a bully. They have a belief system, and it usually starts with not being a very strong person internally. And so their tendency is to lash out, project blame, have a target, and then unload all of this anger and frustration and anxiety and evil and all this stuff onto that target. And in doing so, they discharge the tension inside. Their behavior matches up with their skewed belief system, and they feel better. They feel like they have power. They have some control. And my guess is this is the same thing that's going on with this offshoot of Al-Qaeda. They get a few American folks. I heard this recently. Maybe I heard it just a minute ago with you guys, but that maybe there are some Americans that were part of that group in Kenya.
Alex was just sharing with us that 3 of them were Americans.
Yeah. So this is just, it's a lot to handle, but I think we can get overloaded with it real quickly if we just think about it as these evil Islamist people. That is an evil, abhorrent set of behaviors, indiscriminate violence. In fact, I guess it wasn't indiscriminate. They even asked if people could speak in Arabic and recite some of the Quran or prayers, they would let them go. So, it was a little bit more strategic in that way. But it's the same dynamic. It's the same kind of human emotion and behaviors gone crazy, gone askew. And it goes back to our ability to teach children how to deal with conflict, how to deal with these ambivalencies, and not to immediately try to discharge them to a target so that they feel better. And that's what a temper tantrum is, actually.
Where does it all stop? How do you minimize it? What do you do?
Well, one of the things is we have to, in an ongoing fashion, do a lot of education within our homes, churches, synagogues, mosques, wherever. I mean proactive, not just let's do the right thing and be nice, sweet, kind people and share and those kind of values that are very important. I mean proactively have a curricula that goes after this seemingly runaway train of ours, humanity, to deal with anger and hostility and differences in such a violent, explosive way. We've got to teach skills every day to children in our schools, in our churches, in our homes, and that's the ongoing task. Now, the other stuff, well, at some point, these things get so far out of hand that the only thing you can do is try to have good intelligence, do a lot of monitoring, a lot of security issues, a lot of the counter-terroristic stuff, and you've got to cut it off. And unfortunately, that's kind of the eye for an eye. You have to go out and eradicate and exterminate that kind of behavior when it gets to that point. It's very sad that that's the trap that we find ourselves in as human beings, but I think that's one of the realities. So to the extent that all countries, all peoples can come together and say, okay, in this modern world, we're going to have to put a certain amount of resources into security instead of other aspects of quality of life. We're going to have to allocate some of those over to just remaining secure, keeping our children as secure as we can.
Do you think the world has ever been this violent? This is nothing. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, well, I'm not a historical expert, but I think we're all aware when we go back and look into history that there has been violence that rivals the violence that we're seeing now. I think it's just becoming so. There's so many groups of folks that are disenfranchised in some way through their own belief system and maybe because of the way they're treated. And then there's this tendency to homogenize a group. We do that in religion. We do it in this melting pot country of ours in little groups. We try to homogenize. I feel more comfortable when I'm around people that look like me, talk like me, believe the same way. Our party system is that way. See, and I'm not saying that we need to all immerse ourselves in diversity, but that's just the way the world is. To the extent that we're exposed to it, we become more tolerant, more understanding. We get to actually talk it out, reason, use skills for conflict resolution. These are things we're not doing today, though. We tend to go immediately to this homogenization. And I'll give you a quick example. If you're going to a church, let's say, I hear this from people in churches, and they don't like the way the preacher is talking about something or the priest is talking about something, or they don't like this doctrinal issue. Well, they pick up and leave. Well, we can do that. I get that. But when we keep doing that, what we leave behind is all the people that believe exactly the same. And that seems to be a tendency right now. And of course, these Islamists, extremists, jihadists, well, they have a very strong canon of belief, and so they recruit, and they only tolerate those who believe exactly as they do. And so that's this supremely purified, homogenized group of these strong believers. And so everybody else that isn't like them is the target. They're the infidel. And so all of their resources go to destroying that target.
You know, I wonder who gets a chance to determine the images and who and everybody else is. Who gets to make those determinations?
Run that by again. I think I misunderstood what you were getting at.
Why are people so weak to buy into these images and perceptions?
Oh, gosh. That is a great question, and I agree with you. Weakness is probably a good adjective. We are bombarded by so many things, and our tendency is to avoid anything that creates conflict. So we'll take the first thing that seems like it fits. You know, it feels good, I'll just hang on to it. In some ways, I think it's an economical survival kind of thing. It's not very adaptive, I have to admit, but it's easy when you think about energy.
Hold that point. We're coming back. Dr. Gary Bernard, don't go away.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great tasty sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
You know, Dr. Bernard, and many of these terrorist attacks are so well planned now. It just shocks me that many of the governments, including ours, have not been able. Well, look, they try 1,000 times and we're successful 999 times, but there's just no way to avert this, is it? 100%.
No, there isn't. It's the same thing with criminals. I mean, we try to put a lot of resources into that, and law enforcement and security systems do a fairly good job of minimizing that, but we're always going to need jails. We're always going to have people that break the law. We just have to do the best job we can and try on the other end to start turning this slow, big, huge ship around in a different direction. And your comment earlier about why is it that we seem to be so weak? We're so willing to just accept things. Well, I think that is a tendency. I don't know any clear studies on it, but it's a tendency of ours. But just look how much more information gets thrown our way all day long now that we have these smartphones and we have this social media, and we come home and it's 24/7 on cable news. We're having to process so much stuff, and there's this tendency to take the path of least resistance when you get on overload. You just passively accept certain things. And, on the one hand, capitalism works in that way because of marketing. It's you can have an impact on a person's belief system and how they imagine a certain brand and the emotional connection it has to them. And that's a positive thing if you have some wares to sell. But if you're selling terrorism or something that we think is nefarious or evil, then we don't like that. It's the same system. It goes awry because of a lot of different factors in modern living. We have so much more to deal with.
Yeah, but we may have more to deal with, but unlike what we've had to deal with in the past, this escalation of violence it's an epidemic.
It is. And it's all about power. It's all about control. It's all about trying to right wrongs, perceived or otherwise. And so there are two ends of it. And I don't think our country, for example, or non-Islamic people cause terrorism. We have a role in it, just like we do in our homes. We don't cause typically misbehavior of children, especially if we're trying our best to help them comply and live a pretty cooperative life. But our interactions with our children they are a factor in our children's patterns of behaviors. And so we all have something to do with these folks that are rebelling against us in this evil fashion. I'm not saying we're causing it. I don't believe that for 1 second, and I'd never take that responsibility. But, there is something about the way we treat people that has an influence on their choice system. Think about that with the bully. Some people, we just go, well, they're just bullies, and that's all there is to it. Well, I believe there's a kid or a human being that has those tendencies, but I think they live and they develop within a field of experiences and environment, and we're part of that.
Absolutely. Let's go to Alan, who's on the line with a comment. Alan, you're on with Dr. Bernard. Thank you for calling.
Great. How you all doing today?
That's fine, thank you.
Doing great.
Good. I want to just make a comment. You made a statement about, I guess, those, the extremists, and mostly, talking about the Muslims. This is just my belief. I believe that God has given us tools, and I think what we're doing is crossing spiritual warfare with world. And He's given us tools to kill others, and this is in Christianity and Islam, to kill others who are against God. But I think where we fail is understanding is that we are to kill the spirit. We are to kill that demonic spirit, not the individual. And I believe that's where the cross is. God has also given us information and tools to kill individuals, yes, when it comes to worldly law, like murder and child molestation. Those are tools that God has given us where we are to physically kill another individual. But when the extremists put on us that we are to kill those who are against God, they're misinterpreting. It's the soul, it's the spirit of that person, not that person. We are all supposed to love that person, but we have the tools, and it's written how to get rid of the demonic spirit within them. That's just my view, Andy.
Well, I'll jump in. I agree that we're trying to deal with things in a physical world when we're really trying to be spiritual people, and that's a hard thing to do. Biologically, our primary aim, most basic aim, is survival. Psychologically, it is security. And just think about that with regard to terrorism. Look at the power a small group of people can have. They can threaten your survival and your security, the most basic aspects of our human race continuing. And it's, what do you do with that? Well, we hope we can rear children, teach people, start inviting people to grow so that they can get up on the top floor and get some perspective. And that is more a spiritual, higher order, more sophisticated way, more mature way of living life, where violence isn't the answer to conflict, because we all have something in the game. And when we learn that and accept it, there's a tendency to leave the base and start moving to these higher orders of actualization or of living together.
Alan, thank you for calling. What do you think, and which countries have made the most progress in this experiment, Dr. Bernard? And why? I know size play a role.
That's a great question. I don't know that I know. I'll tell you what jumped into my head immediately when you said that, and I don't know that they've made the greatest advances, to be honest. But a country like Switzerland, who typically, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be involved in the world, but they typically draw a line and say, we're not going to take on that kind of approach to resolving violence. We're not going to get into these wars. We might help support some efforts to make the world more secure, but and I'm not really saying they're the country that's doing it, but I think it's that type of mentality that says, yes, we need resources to remain secure. Yes, we live in a country, in a world where globally there are some things that we need to be responsible to, but we're not responsible for these other countries. Kenya is not responsible for Somalia. Yet, there have been some things that have gone on there, and I'm not casting blame to anyone, but it's just a way to stimulate and to flame the fire. We see that in families. We see that with neighbors. When you just can't let something go and you keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, people get very angry, and before you know it, they're doing crazy things to try to right a wrong.
You can pray for forgiveness for the wrong, but righting a wrong, to me, is a different story, especially when you look at the mass killing in Kenya and other places.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Huge difference.
Yeah, but that takes some real personal responsibility there.
Yes, it does.
We talk about that all the time, but asking for forgiveness and then working hard to try to make something right in the sense of being redeemed, having some redemption, is a whole nother matter. We can't take it back, but that's that's our way of getting past these huge divides and these huge conflicts. And that's saying, I'm going to own up to what I did, and I'm so sorry because I can never pay that back. But I can live a life and behave in a way toward you that's difficult, but you're deserving of it, so that I can have some redemption.
Yeah, and that's the key, is redemption. Dr. Bernard, remind us again how our audience can contact you.
You can reach me on the web at thepower-parent.com or email me at drb at thepower-parent.com.
How are your parents?
They're doing well.
How old are they now?
They're doing very well. For older folks, they're doing extremely well.
You're
Healthy.
blessed to have your parents still
Yes.
with you.
How about your mother?
She's fine, thank you. She's fine.
Good.
And your wife?
Oh, she's doing great.
And Josh?
She's doing God's work in the courthouse.
Oh, yes. And how's Josh?
Josh is doing very well.
No wedding bells?
He's thriving, actually.
Oh, he is?
He is.
Oh, that's good.
I know.
He's certainly paid his dues for it.
Yeah, you might say that. You might say that. Those have been all very good experiences. Not all of them were real positive for him, but that's how we learn. And I think he's pulling it together.
Yes, he is. Listen, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good day now.
Take
Good
care,
day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right.